this challenge, I'll create an easy framework for telling a story, including imported backdrop images and story script costumes. I'll upload a couple backdrop images. My images are simple drawings I made on my computer and saved in PNG file format. They're 480 by 360, the size of Scratch's stage. Photos can be used too. I'll double-click on Ocean Sunset and upload my other backdrop, Evening Above the Bay. I want costumes that'll be the text of the story. Having the text as costumes will help me make smoother transitions between costume changes. More on that shortly. First, I need some costumes, and I want the program to start by telling the reader to use the space key to advance through the story. I'll select the cat sprite and paint a new costume. Vector costumes can have smoother images, so I'll convert to vector. I'll want to make a text object and use the Gloria font. I'll put the text at the bottom. Press space to advance through the story. That looks good. Click again and make my second costume. Convert to vector. Text. This will be a long one. We enjoyed the last of the sunset. Then we started back to town, hoping we'd have enough light. Click outside, move it down a little bit. Looks good. Make my third costume, convert to vector, text. This one's a little shorter. Heading down to the shore, we could see the lights below us. Looks good there. Fourth costume, vector, text. Now make your own story. Okay, move it down a little tiny bit. And finished. I don't want the cat's costumes. Get rid of that one and this one. I have 4 costumes now. 4, 3, 2, and 1. They're numbered 2, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now I want to show each costume with the correct backdrop and use the spacebar to change through them. First, I'll advance through the costumes each time the spacebar is pressed. I'll go to Scripts, Looks, look at the costume number, check it, and move it down to the middle. I want to loop through the costumes 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll go to Control, Repeat Until. Go to Looks to switch the costume. I want the costume number +1 to go to the next costume. I'll get costume number, operators, and add 1 to it. That'll work. Now it'll switch to the next costume. But when should the loop stop? When costume number is 4 or when it's greater than 4? I want to end with the last costume showing, so I went when costume number equals 4. I'll get equals 4. I'll start with the first costume, duplicate. Don't need this. The first costume is costume 3. Need to repeat until costume number is 4. When this starts, it selects the first costume, switches, and keeps switching until costume number is equal to 4. I'd like to run this, but I won't see all the costume changes. It'll run too quickly. I'll add waiting for the space bar, wait until, go to Sensing, key space pressed, and I want to run all of this, events, when a green flag is clicked. Now when the green flag is clicked, first costume selected, until costume number is 4, waits for a space, advances to the next costume. I'll run it, and press the space bar, and went all the way through. That was strange. The loop is so fast that it switches the costume and comes back to wait and sees the key is still pressed, so it keeps looping and looping. I'm going to add a smoother transition between costume changes that'll take time, so I'll add a single timed wait for now. I'll run it now. Press the space, second, space, third, space, last one. The program's finished running. The flag's a dark green, and there's no glow around the blocks. When a costume is changed, text costume to quickly and smoothly fade away, then have the new text costume fade in. I'll go to Looks, Change Effect. I'll use Ghost Effect. When I run this block, watch the text costume fade some. Click on it. It faded. That's 25. Again is 50. Again, 75. Again, 100. And it's gone. A change of 100 went from visible to invisible. I'll make it visible again like when it started. I'll get Set Effect, Ghost. I'll run it. At 0, the ghost effect is completely visible, so 100 is invisible, as I showed in an earlier challenge. I want my program to do this fade out over 1 second. I'll go to Control, Repeat. I want the text to fade smoothly, so I'll make a bunch of small changes. Instead of 25, it'll be 5. That'll have to change 20 times to get up to 100. 5 times 20 is 100. So I'll change the loop to 20. And I'll start at 0. Now the effect starts at 0, and for 20 times the ghost effect is changed by 5 till it gets to 100. But this will be too fast. I'll get a wait. I want this loop to take 1 second, not 20 seconds. I need to wait a 20th of a second, 0.05. It's okay if you don't understand that. You can try this instead. Get divide. 108 1/20th. Scratch will compute the value. It's a calculator too. I'll run this too. Watch the text smoothly fade out. Click on it. Fading and gone. I'll make a procedure block. Make a block. Call it Fade Out Costume. Okay. I'll attach this. Good. I want to fade the costume out before I switch to a new costume. I can get rid of the wait now. I'll need to fade the new costume in, too. Fade in will be like this, but in reverse, changing the ghost effect from 100 to 0. Easy enough. I'll duplicate. Start at 100. And change the ghost effect by -5, so it goes down to 0. I'll make this a block, too. Call it Fade In Costume. Okay. Attach the definition. I'll get the Fade In Costume block. Run it. The text reappears. The program needs to do this. I'll try it after the switch costume, and I'll run the program. The start could be a little nicer. I'll press the space bar. Costume 2. Space bar. Costume 3. One more time. 4. Good. Now I want the backdrop to change with the story. I'll go to Stage, Backdrops. I want backdrop 2 with my first 2 costumes and backdrop 3 with my other 2 costumes. I'll go back to Scripts for the sprite. I could put an if in. If costumes less than 3, set backdrop to Ocean Sunset, else set backdrop to Evening Above the Bay, but that'll be painful adding more and more backdrops. I'll use a list instead. I'll go to Data, make a list. I'll call it My Backdrop Sequence. For this sprite only, okay. I'll move the list over. I want to switch the backdrop before waiting for the key press. Go to Looks, Switch Backdrop. But which backdrop? I have costume numbers going from 1 through 4. That would match easily as entries in a list. Costume 1 gets the first entry, Costume 2 the second entry, 3 the third, and 4 the fourth. I'll use costume number into the list. Duplicate. I need the list, data, item number, item, costume number. I'll need to switch the backdrop for the last costume too, since the last costume won't go into the loop. Duplicate, delete the rest. The list will have 4 items, 1 for each costume. I can use that for the number. Then as the list grows, it'll always work. I need to initialize the list. I'll move this down, get delete, delete all, add item, another one, duplicate the 2 so I have 4. First costume gets backdrop number 2, second is 2, third is 3, fourth is 3. Lists will get longer for real stories, so I'll create a procedure block. Make a block, call it initialize list. Okay, I'll attach it. I need to initialize the list. Do that first. Now when the green flag's clicked, the list is initialized, first costume selected. Until switching to the fourth costume, the backdrops change, wait, fade out, new costume, fade in. When the loop's finished, the last backdrop's shown. I'll run it. The list is right. 2, 2, 3, 3. Costume 1 is showing and backdrop 2 is showing. Costume 1 gets backdrop 2. Space. Costume 2 gets backdrop 2. Space. Fade. Costume 3 gets backdrop 3. That was a little strange. One more space. Costume 4 gets backdrop 3. The new backdrops were late. I'll stop it. The fades take time. I want the fade in after the switch backdrop in the loop. Now I'll need a fade in after the loop for this last costume change. When costume number is 4, the loop ends, and fade in is needed after the fade out. I'll get fade in, drop it in. I want to watch the program run without the list and without the costume number. I'll run the whole program now. Press space to advance. Nice transition. We enjoyed the last of the sunset. Good. Space. Backdrop headed down to the shore. Good. Now make your own story. That worked nicely. I'm finished with this challenge. I encourage you to play with the program. Get comfortable with how it coordinates costumes and backdrops, and be sure you understand how the list is being used. Try changing the program. Try creating your own story. Try making fade out and fade in take longer, but be careful. Try using a list for costumes too, so that they can be easily resequenced and added, but make sure both lists have the same number of items. Try replacing the use of the key press conditional with a space key event handler and a new variable. Try changing the introduction to be smoother and more interesting. But above all, have fun with the program.